Call to order the Ironton City Council meeting of October 28, 2021. With us this evening, we have Pastor Carson Hunt from First Presbyterian Church to lead us in the invocation. We'll follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to stand and remain standing, please.
First off, I'd like to apologize to this body. I've been called twice that I couldn't be here. Once we were virtual, and I could not get Zoom to work. I've done Zoom different times. It would not click in that night, so I apologize. The other time I was late, I was here, and then I had to turn around. By the time I got back, somebody else was praying, so I just saw inside the door that somebody else was doing it, so I do apologize. I did make it tonight. I believe this is me, so. So let us go to the Lord in prayer. Almighty God, we come before you tonight as a body of concerned citizens and elected officials, Lord, that we could do business for this city, this wonderful city on the river here of Ironton, Ohio. Lord, a city that we've come to love over the years. Some were born here, others have moved in, and Lord, we just call it home now. So we thank you, Lord, for opportunities to serve you in whatever capacity you've called us to be. So Lord, we pray that you would be with each and every official here and each and all of the concerned citizens that are here, that you would guide us and lead us in your ways, Lord, that we would come together as one, as you have called us to be, that we could work together and to find mutual ways to serve you and to serve this city and to serve one another. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Hunt.
Thank you.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Leary.
Here.
Haney.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Cox.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Rist.
Here.
Next, in our meeting minutes, we have the approval of minutes of the Strategic Planning Committee meeting of October 14th, 2021, and the regular council meeting minutes of October 14th, 2021. Before I ask if there are others, Marta, on page 2 in the Strategic Planning Committee meeting, the nays are Hawk and Pierce, and Harvey and Rist are not on that committee. And the ayes, the first ayes, Klein is correct, nays, Hawk and Pierce, not Harvey and Rist on there. In the second one, the ayes were Hawk and Pierce, and the nays were Klein, not Harvey and Rist on the ayes. Any other errors, omissions, additions to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, those will stand as approved. Next, we have audience participation. With us this evening, we have two invited guests, Dr. Bill Dingus and Michael Holtz. If you'd like to address the council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members, for allowing us to meet with you tonight, and would like specifically to talk about the hotel motel tax that you're under consideration within your body. So, and let me kind of give you a quick picture of the CVB. I know sometimes you say that that the city gets 1% and the county takes 5%. Well, 100% of that 5% goes back to operate a CVB in the county. And a huge part of the effort, probably the majority, goes between Ironton and Wayne National Forest. It seemed like this is our area of concentration, and Marty Conley, some of you have met Marty, and Marty actually operates it, and he's redone the menus on the depot, on the armories, and got them all in electronic format. And during the COVID, he was helping do grants and stay on top of things, and helping them write their PPP plans. So honestly, the 5% that the county gets, they keep nothing for themselves. 100% goes into marketing and trying to promote and develop the county, and particularly We're doing infomercials, they're doing the YouTubes, they're doing the electronics. Today you'll see most of your restaurants in Ironton on where their menus are electronic, and he helped make all those things happen. So I think it's been a great investment beyond the county, and I appreciate the council interested in trying to do more. But our concern is that if we go beyond the 6%, we would be the highest in the state, except for those few.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Okay. We'd be the highest in the state, except for those counties where the legislature had very specifically approved going more for specific reasons, projects, except for a few resort counties where the population is seasonal. They're allowed to do some things different. And the same is true in Huntington and Iceland. There's nothing there beyond 6% on bed tax. So it really, I think, would make us in a very unfavorable position where people in Iceland can say that Ironton's 50% higher than we are. Plus two, the 5% honestly is being invested now in Ironton largely. The car show that was done, that was Marty helped make that happen. I think he worked with the mayor and everyone. So there's very few projects that's happened with the Ironton Alive, the Friends of Ironton. I mean, truly, this has been a real effort to market Ironton and the community. So I know we'll take the question, but at some point I'd ask Mike Holtz to join me. Mike is with the hotels and can give a much deeper, but if you want to answer a question, I'd be pleased to.
Yeah, it would be one of the largest in the state, and actually there's quite a few hotel, motel, excise taxes that are exceeding 10% of the state.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But all of those were approved by the legislature above 6. And they were, if you go back and study, they're normally for a ball diamond or for buildings.
Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, well, they're for some cause, an actual, usually a building to offset the debt, and many of them are actually approved for 20 years, so that actually would retire bonds. So, yeah, but the 6% for the actual taxes, you call it, other than for the special cause, and they were all approved by the legislature. So
there's extra 3% out there for the Visitors Bureau, right? The Community Visitors Bureau?
Well, only if the legislature approves it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it has to go back and have the Ohio legislature actually listed in a bill to allow it.
Well,
so
that's
but there'd be
correct?
It could be an extra 10%.
In
If
2005?
Pardon?
2005 and 2019, there were special excise taxes introduced by the Ohio legislature for that specific purpose.
Well, they've introduced them multiple times, but the max cap for them without getting special legislative have been 6%.
Jacob.
I want to thank you guys for joining us. But I have a technical question. I'm just wondering if we're streaming because
Oh, should I mind the
Are we
way?
blocking the?
Are we streaming properly?
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, his
Are we
question.
streaming? Because I had people that wanted to tune in and they can't get to it on YouTube.
We've got it up, it'll be on YouTube.
Okay, so it's not streaming live?
No,
Okay, just
Thank you.
wondering, okay.
within the app.
I don't have any other questions yet.
Okay, thank you.
Charles.
Okay. Well, as you probably all know, the hospitality business was one of the hardest hit industries during the pandemic. In our hotel sector, the upper mid-scale sector, where the express and town place suites will fall in, close to 50%, and revenues nationwide were decreased in 2020. As industry, we're still recovering from this drastically, and with that, a lot of our customers are extremely price sensitive. The best way for the hotel to be successful is to establish a base business. That's usually anywhere from 20 up to 50% of our customers we consider base business depending on what time of the year it is. The base business is extremely rate sensitive, competitive business that we have to go after to sustain operations in a hotel And so it allows us to go after the groups and the higher corporate rates and be successful and have a successful business model. The first question they ask is, what's your all-inclusive rate? So anywhere from 20 to 50% of business, that's our first question, what's your all-inclusive rate? And every dollar matters to that, especially when right now we're the highest all-inclusive with taxes compared to the Ashland and West Virginia area. If we continue to increase that, it is going to hurt our ability to pull that business from across the river into the city of Ironton. Also, our payroll in 2019 was roughly around $500,000, which I believe contributed close to $5,000 straight to the city of Ironton. And because of that, we were able, and because of the business-friendly environment that we've been in here for numerous years with the Express, is the reason we're able to develop the town place with confidence. And now the confidence and the payroll tax from the town place will exceed that $5,000 from the Express, simply because the Express has 79 rooms compared to the 109 with the town place suites. We've enjoyed being here. It's been very business friendly. We've had some success, but we are far from recovering from what COVID has done to our industry. We can't get supplies. It's tough to keep people. And that is nowhere near the end for our industry as of this point.
Payroll now.
So the last time we had representatives come in, I guess there was some persuasion and it got tabled. I did not agree with that. But shortly thereafter, your company, I guess, I don't know if you need a vote or whatever, but they increased the nightly rates. Shortly thereafter, this ordinance got tabled previously.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we supposed to, I think that was kind of a spit in the face to the city of Ironton that, you're telling us all this information, and it's basically the same information you brought to us about a year ago, that struggling, but then you go and increase the rates, your nightly rates yourself, and then we're left sitting here wondering like, okay, so obviously you're doing well enough to increase the rates, but the city can't have any portion of that, correct?
Well, we have probably 25 different rates in that hotel at any given night. So I'm not sure what specific rate you're referring to, but most people have a different rate in that hotel at any given night. And a lot of those rates are negotiated contracts with groups or local businesses, and those vary from negotiation to negotiation, day to day. It's constantly moving.
Bob.
Yeah, could you tell me again, I think you mentioned how many rooms you have available, or did you say that?
We have 79 rooms at the Express and 109 at the Town Place Suites.
79 at the Holiday Express?
Correct.
How many at the new hotel?
109.
Are all the rooms completed and available to rent in the new one? I presume they are in the Holiday, because I've been there for a while.
Well, at the moment, we do have a couple down due to waiting on refrigerator, an oven, missing TVs from construction. We actually had 3 TVs arrive last week. All of them were broken. That took 3 months to get in. So we don't have all rooms up and running right now at both hotels. We actually have a roof repair that we need to get done at the Express. That is taking several weeks, if not up to a month, just to try to get someone out there to repair that due to, again, it's impossible to get people out to the hotel.
So how many actual rooms will you have when all the TVs are in, everything going?
With everything up and running 100%, we'll have 188 total between the 2 hotels.
How many in the new one?
109 in the new one, 79 in the Express,
Okay,
the old one.
109 is presuming you would have all the rooms ready to go.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chris?
Yeah, I would like to know which specific hotel lodging taxes the CVB is actually enacting with this. Because there's about 3 or 4 different ones that you are capable of enacting. I just would like to know specific, because I've looked, every government agency that I've looked at does not have that information, so.
Yeah, whatever if you look in, and I've got a copy of the resolutions, which we could pull for you, they're from the county commissioners.
Okay.
The commissioners, one was passed in 1984, and the other one was passed in 2008. And we'll be glad to share both those
So that was
resolutions.
the original 1967 and then the 2005, correct?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
That one likely, and that one, the
Suppose-
one specifically, it can be enacted for a convention facility in certain Appalachian counties with populations of less than 80,000, correct?
Yeah, well, neither of those are that one, is my understanding. I don't know on that one, honestly. I would have to have council pull those up to really look at I just know those were the years they were enacted, so whatever normal was there, but so.
Okay.
And then we have, in the 84, they have a guidebook, probably a 30-page guidebook, how it was to be operated and who was to pay and how the money would be collected and any kind of late charges. And it's a pretty thorough situation. Okay.
Mr. Pierce?
In the last quarter, what has been the estimated average of occupancy of the hotels?
Well, I'd have to separate that question considering two different entities. I mean, the Town Place just opened up June 29th of this year. Our average occupancy the last 3 months there is probably about 35%, maybe 40 tops. At the Express, the last 3 months, probably closer to 65, 70.
Nick?
Mr. Holtz, thanks for coming in. I want to say thank you for your investment in our community.
Thank you.
How much did it cost to build, if you don't mind me asking, the Holiday Inn Express?
Ooh, the Holiday Express. That was about 9 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that was before I was involved in development with the company.
Okay.
I could go back and look, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Okay. How about the Town Place Suites?
Town
Yeah,
Place.
It was 16.5.
16.5.
The new Town Place. The other one was 8 to 9 million. It was somewhere in that, and I think it was either 8 or 9 or million to build the Holiday Inn.
Okay.
And
So
Town
you're sa-
Place was 16 million and a half.
So you're saying you invested $26 million into our community
Correct.
over the last 10 years?
My family has, yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
How many employees do you have at the Holiday Inn Express and the Town Place Suite?
Town Place, we have close to 25, and again, we are short-staffed. We're still looking to hire. And at the Express, we're probably just a couple below that, around 22, 23. And again, we are also still short-staffed there, trying to get people.
So right around 50 employees?
I would say roughly at
that
least.
pay income tax.
Correct.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And we're full-staffed. Hopefully, there'll be more.
Okay. How much, do you know how much that you pay in service fees a month, ballpark, as far as
Service
water,
fees.
sewer fees?
At-
Municipal,
Sure. At the
fire?
I can tell you at the Express last month, our bill was close to $4,000.
Okay.
So I'd say at the Express, we range around 3,000 to 4,000 a month. And the Town Place, as I said, we're just now starting to take off, so it's probably about a couple thousand, but that will build as occupancy builds.
Okay. Thank you for that. And have you had any issues as far as services from the city based on that?
No, I have not.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Last question. Are you aware of the proposed development of the Phase 3 project in Gateway near your hotel with new developments that would benefit the community along with a CVB office in that facility?
Where there's a phase 3, and I'm not aware of the specifics, but I do know more business, the better.
Okay. Do you feel that would be a benefit for your hotels and that Gateway development? Additional restaurants,
Mhm.
meeting rooms, retail, do you think that would be an
Well-
overall benefit?
Absolutely. The first thing a traveler wants is when they get to their hotel, check in, and walk to the nearest restaurant or bar, grocery store. They want to be able to walk to places as opposed to after being in the road, getting in their car, and having to travel somewhere else. And the more options that we have within a walking distance, it will significantly impact the hotel in a positive way.
And would you feel more comfortable if there was any increase in a hotel, motel tax, that money was dedicated specifically to that project, that would both be beneficial to your hotels, the Gateway project, and the city as a whole, compared to uncertainty?
Of course, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Chris?
What portions of phase 3 are you speaking about, Nate?
On 9th Street between Washington and Vernon.
Okay, thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, the question about your employees
Mhm.
at both hotels, are you doing, I don't know how exactly to put, are they payroll employees, or are they being subsidized by some of these
No, they're all,
plans that's out there for rehab on,
no, they're all payroll employees, yes.
okay. I know there was I know there was a training period, when you were bringing them in, training them, and I think it's the local group that puts these people in businesses work for free. They pay them, but the employer pays nothing. And I think some of that might have happened in the very beginning, in the training phase. Maybe it didn't, but.
All of our employees run through payroll. The only training that is involved, that is when the franchisor will send their employees, like Marriott, to come in and train for a week, and then they leave. But other than that, everybody's on our payroll that's at those hotels. Just, yeah, that's the only thing I could think of in regards to training. Other than that, is us.
All right, thank you.
I have two questions. To touch on Nate's point, if we're to pass this and Ironton was to invest our 3% into seeing that CVB be located in a physical building in Ironton in that phase 3 project, would that be something that you all would I guess that's more towards Bill, would be accommodating to?
Well, if certainly that was the original intent. It's the fact that someday we would build the third building, but you know, that one is a very challenging kind of thing. When you look at the cost, it is a $7 to $10 million building. You know, with a hotel, when we built the town place, we got into terrible soils. I mean, it cost, I think, $300,000 or $400,000 to take the soil out. Went down, I think it was 24 foot, and put in a layer of plastic, and then put in 16-inch limestone and compacted it back up. And it was, I think, about $350. It was a terribly expensive thing. And the problem we have is with the planned new building, which not only is a welcome center, it's a combination of that. We're also trying to put in there at least 3 restaurants and also a virtual work center. We believe that we need some of the jobs out of the big cities here to be a virtual workspace, and I guess that's you know, that particular piece of property left. Currently, that property, they have $850,000 in it. I tell you, when you buy pieces a lot at a time and tear down houses, and those of you been involved, so the people have made you know, in fact, CO and LADC and some of our people are in debt on that piece of property. So we certainly want it built, there's no question, but we recognize that it's an $8 to $10 million. You know, we're pushing hard to try to get a capital bill to help something, because there's no way that we could ever, you know, if you put on a 20% tax, you couldn't retire the debt on this thing, because there's no income produced in welcome centers. They're a big black hole, and you've got to feed them, and that's where but at this point, my biggest concern is will raising the tax negatively impact our struggles we're having now?
So my second question, Bill, was right to that point. My second question was, should we pass the hotel motel tax at 3% tonight? Would you all take the same effort to go to the county commissioners and ask that they repeal 3% of theirs?
No. Because if I do, then I've got, and Marty Conley, his whole position and all of his work goes down the tube, that he's worked on the whole process. He's got a relationship with all of your businesses, the restaurants. It would be, I mean, to take away half of that budget would be, just to be honest, Craig, I want to be straight with you. That is probably, he is doing more good today for our community than any other entity around within the Southern Ohio. He is hustling and making it happen, and to destroy that, I think, would be an unethical thing for me to prove.
Because, you know, we've asked as a legislative body, prior to this council being seated, we did, Rich Blankenship asked the commissioners back then, would they consider a new split rather than a 5-1? Would they consider a new split? And we're told no. So that was my follow-up question.
On the statute, when that was put on, it was allowing 3 additional %, and the maximum the commissioners could give to a municipality was 1%. So they did give you the very maximum in that particular legislation. When you go back to 2008, they did give the city the very maximum allowed in the law.
Chris?
That wasn't a gift. It's mandated in the disposition of revenue section of the lodging tax.
That's in the 2008 legislation, the way I read it, it doesn't mandate it.
Well, it says right here, under the lodging tax authorized in 1980, counties are required to return to municipalities and townships that do not levy any hotel motel tax a uniform percentage not to exceed 33.3% of revenue generated within the municipality and township.
So it could be 0%, is what I'm saying. I mean, to me, they gave you the maximum. They couldn't exceed the third, but they gave you the third.
Jacob?
The biggest issue I have is the negative impact of raising the fee. I just see if I was in Ashland and I'm trying to sell rooms there, and I can say that, you know, Ironton is 50% higher. If I'm up at the Southern Hills up here at Burlington, same thing, you'll be 50% on the bed tax higher than they are. So that's the thing, is when you're suffering anyway at the steel on the lodging.
The county's not suffering with the percentage that they're taking.
Pardon?
The county's not suffering.
Chris?
Well,
Bob?
Yeah. Some of the conversation I've heard is that if the hotel gets to a certain percentage of sales or whatever, 65% occupancy or something, then it could afford to absorb the extra 3%. Is that, am I understanding that right?
Break even's more.
Yeah, the key number is not your occupancy. It's really your RevPAR, which is your revenue per available room. That's a combination of your occupancy and your rate. So the 3% would hurt our rate, thus meaning our RevPAR is lower. And the RevPAR is how the key metric that you're looking at that tells you if you're breaking even on a daily basis or not. So you could be running 80% occupancy, but if your rate is not at the right number, you can still be losing money. And on top of that, the Ohio Lodging Association, they came out and they track the average spending that a traveler does that stays at a hotel. And according to them, in 2019, the average, and that was the last real year in our business, we always refer to 2019, we kind of try to forget about 2020, but the average spend in the local market per overnight traveler was $327 in the state of Ohio. So that includes the hotel room, that includes any other ancillary spending, but that is, you can find that's quite a bit of money driven into that local market.
Chris?
Since we are broadcasting on YouTube and we on the city page, would you guys like to justify the fact that there's a 13.25% tax on each room, and the city currently gets 1% of that, and that the county is not willing to budge to allow the city to get any more of that, and that we would just be increasing the actual hotel tax to 9%. Is there any way you could justify that to the citizens of Ironton?
Are you talking about sales tax or bed tax?
We're talking about both of them, the tax, the entire tax within the hotel final bill is right now 13.25%, and currently Ironton gets 1% of that.
But 13.25 is competitive with Ashland and other places. So that's the issue when you become non-competitive in Ironton. That's what concerns me. And it's just not a county against the city. I mean, the CVB, technically this money is, the tax was put on technically for the benefit of helping to promote communities and bring in visitors and so on, so the county's majority of the money is going to that. You are getting the benefit of that. Go ahead.
So you're saying 3% currently goes directly to Ironton somehow, in some way?
No, I'm saying the benefits of the 5% goes to you all as well as everybody else. I mean, it's not Ironton is the main town. I mean, if you look at
Some would say the county seat.
It's a county seat, but it's the town, and where do we have restaurants in Lawrence County except here? I mean, where do we have the other kinds of activities and the sales and so on? It's not because you take travelers don't spend money at Walmart's, but they do spend money in places like the marina stores and the kayak places and things like that. It's a different, who knows the impact of it, but I certainly think it is a very difficult time, and I agree that you want the money, but were you wanting to put the money into helping market Ironton, which the 5% is going into marketing Ironton.
Well,
and if you want to
just said not the entire 5%, and actually we have in the ordinance it states that 1.5% goes towards economic development, and 1.5% goes to community development. So the entire 3% would go into helping only Ironton, and not South Point or property development.
But this is not one community against the other.
I agree, but I think we should have our fair share.
Anyone else? Dr. Dacus, thank you. Mr. Holtz, thank you. And that is Holtz with a Z. He is related to Lou Holtz, if you guys missed that conversation. Others that would like to address the Ironton City Council this evening? Step to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Council. Chris Perry, 840 North 6th Street, Ironton, or North 5th Street, I apologize, Ironton. Question's actually directed to the guests. I'm just got a question if that's within protocol.
Not really.
Okay.
No, your questions have to be directed to us.
Okay, maybe I could ask the question and then we can get some resolution.
This isn't a potpourri session.
I understand. Okay, thank you. The Convention and Visitor Bureau, I think, is a fantastic idea for Ironton. The virtual workspace or the virtual office facility that's being considered for Ironton, I think, is also a fantastic idea. I think there are a lot of people that might not be familiar with that concept. I lived in Columbus. The Regis Business Center was one of those type of facilities near Easton. I'm curious, though, if the intention for the virtual office or virtual office space is to provide a kind of a blanket business incubator for the area, or is this a per rental space type facility?
That space, Chris, is, from what I understand so far, has been scratched down on paper and rendered a drawing and hasn't been that thoroughly vetted as of yet.
My specific reason for asking, through the years that I lived in Columbus, those virtual incubators took off fantastically and waned very quickly. If it is actually the business model that follows the Regis Center, those are sustainable. They draw a monthly or annual revenue by virtue of whoever it is that's virtually using that space. So that's the first question. And then to kind of, I guess, springboard off of some of the questions that Mr. Haney had, trying to get a little greater understanding on the Ironton facilities, the services, and the amount of tax that Ironton draws from the hotel combo there.
What's your specific question?
So, if we're only drawing 1% of the taxable revenue for the city, and the county is getting an arguably larger percentage of that, but the services rendered are in Ironton's infrastructure, Ironton's water supply, Ironton's sewage and sanitation, trash, police, fire. I guess I'm just trying to.
Mr. Holtz addressed that a little bit, just specific to the Holiday Inn Express. It's around $4,000 a month that they pay in utility bills. The sales tax goes to the county. The income tax, which is around 50 employees between both places, around $5,000 a year, comes to the city of Ironton. So
that was the part I missed.
The benefit to drawing any type of new business to the city is jobs, obviously, because we reap all the benefit of income tax. So.
Got it. That's the part I missed. Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Others that would like to address the Ironton City Council? Mayor?
I've got some stuff on this.
Okay. Next in our meeting minutes, we have communications, a letter from the CAO dated October 15th, 2021 regarding Depot Square Phase 3. A letter from Mr. Pierce that we have already read and addressed twice, Mr. Pierce, and also been thank you for, and I echo some of that, and just happened to notice some of the places that have been patched, and echo some of that thank you to not only the mayor but the street crew as well. Reports, there are none. Ordinances, if the clerk could please give third reading by title only to ordinance 2143.
Repealing ordinance 1883 of the city of Ironton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
No, sorry, 2143, Marty. Here.
Amending section 1250.05B, definition of family in the Ironton zoning code.
Chris.
I'm gonna make a motion to amend, ordinance 2143, definition of family.
To amend it or adopt?
Or adopt the amended ordinance 2143.
Bob.
Make a motion to go ahead and,
He motioned to adopt.
second motion to adopt.
Thanks. Discussion. Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Ordinance 2143 is adopted. If the clerk could please give ordinance 2157 third reading by title only.
Repealing ordinance 1883 of the city of Ironton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Chris.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2157.
Bob.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. Nate.
Short discussion. I know this is not the hotel motel tax ordinance, but I think they're both related, because I feel like your plan is to take that fee off and fund the economic development fee with the additional tax. So I'd like to go ahead and just make a statement on both of these. I'm not in favor of doing that, because I believe the economic development fund is a vital part of what we need to do to move forward. I want to make sure the mayor has tools in place to do that. And I do not feel that fund should be funded with additional hotel motel tax. As we heard Mr. Holt say, they've invested over $26 million in our community, 50 employees, and $4,000 a month that they put in for that. I am not saying I'm not in favor of a hotel tax, but I would like to see additional hotel tax, working with the hotels, LADC, and CVB to build a CVB in Ironton with that 3% dedicated to it. So for that reason, I cannot support both of these.
Chris?
With ordinance 2157, I think it's vital that, just for the citizens to, have this repealed. And when we can have an entity, that's drawing business, using our facility, using our space, using our, infrastructure, when we can take a burden off the citizens and have people from outside of our community that are staying overnight, driving through, when we can replace a fee on our utility bill with the ability to draw from a hotel motel excise tax, that's exactly what that is for. I would think the legislation was for originally within the state level. So I think this is a great way to take some of the burden off the citizens and allow people traveling through, people using our infrastructure to help the city grow.
So I won't commingle them, Nate. 2157 about repealing the Economic Development Fund. I'll turn this back like I did with Chris when we did the water fund and addressing the need and saying, I realize we need to address our utility bill as a whole. We need to analyze all our fees. We need to look at the stormwater utility fee. Chris is going to take up that aimless task here soon. But I said, don't let doing this now stand in the way of us analyzing the whole thing. Because we needed to pull the trigger on that water infrastructure then, and so you remember, so for consistency's sake, part of that analysis of analyzing the utility bill is regardless of 2158, taking that economic development fee off there and figuring something else out. So I hear you, and I agree, they came up at the same time and they are kind of commingled, but they're also completely separate, and it's part of that utility bill analysis that we promised we would do our due diligence to do. So I hear you, but wanted to give that back to you.
It's the feeling like $1.50 a month.
It is, $1.50.
Yeah.
It helps.
Roll call. Oh,
Okay. We're
good. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
No.
Pierce.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Ordinance 2157 is adopted. If the clerk could please give ordinance 2158 third reading by title only.
Establishing a hotel motel excise tax pursuant to ORC 5739.08A and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Chris.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2158.
Bob.
One discussion.
Jacob.
I'll second unless Beth wants to.
I'll second either, doesn't matter either one.
You can flip a coin, Marta.
Okay.
Discussion, Bob.
Yeah, I have, for all these years I've been here, it's usually a pretty easy decision for me to make on how to vote on ordinances that either create income or take income. But I've been really struggling with this one because, being a business owner myself, I know that, if they would come over and touch my business for some fee to where I can be competitive, I would probably soon go out of business. I think that we probably should increase the tax, but I just don't think tonight's the right night to do it. I think we need to give the hotel a little more time to see if they can get their occupancy up and then come back and look at it again. But as Nate mentioned, with your employees and the amount of income that we get off of just the income part of it, it kind of makes me think, well, if we had 3 more %, how would that affect it? But I just can't tonight vote for that because I think we need to work with the if you can get the occupancy up. And even if you get it up, and we add that 3% on, it's still gonna have to, it maybe is absorbed by the profit level that you got, where you don't have to increase your rate.
Chris?
I'd just like to address that, Bob. I don't think you're comparing your business to the hotel. When hotels go into business, they know full well what taxes can be levied against them. Now, this isn't something that we just created as a city. This is something that is totally legal within the state legislature that the hotel operators are quite aware of. So it's not like this is coming out of left field and you're just hit and blindsided and you're gonna have to lay employees off and things like that. When things are put in place, they know full well of what can be imposed and what can't.
Jacob, do you have your hand up? No. I echo your sentiment, Bob. I do. It's not clear cut, really, because as Nate pointed out, Mr. Holt's family has invested $26 million along with other folks in our community, and you don't want to kick a gift horse or bite one or whatever the hell the saying is in the mouth. But nonetheless, I appreciate Dr. Dingus's candor in saying that they won't approach the county about repealing their 3% to offset that. I appreciate that, but that's also a tipping point for me to say, you know, this isn't our burden alone. The burden also lies on the county. So if it's causing a hardship for the hotel, then the county can visit it, because this is the county seat. This is where the hotels are. They are in Ironton. And so to me, that unbeknownst the candor I do appreciate, but that was my tipping point. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
No.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
No.
Pierce.
Aye.
Rist.
Aye.
Ordinance 2158 is adopted. Resolutions, we have none. Miscellaneous, two things from me. One, I will motion that we have our next council meeting on Monday, November 8th at 6 p.m. because November 11th is a federal holiday and Veterans Day. And I sought counsel from the solicitors to make sure we didn't need an ordinance to do that. And because it's on a federal holiday, all we need is a recommendation from this body to do that, a majority. Thank you, Chris. Nate?
Clarify, you said November 8th?
November 8th, I believe, is Monday, is that correct?
Yes.
And
Also-
just coincidentally enough, November, the next scheduled Thursday is Thanksgiving, and so by charter, or well, by ordinance, we amended the charter to
22nd.
move that to the 22nd,
Okay.
so it actually falls 2 weeks prior, so it kind of gives us a good spacing rather than move it after or so forth.
Did he motion?
I second.
I motion, he
Okay,
second.
Gotcha.
Is there anybody besides Jacob that doesn't work? And he's gonna be out of town regardless of. Good. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Rist.
Aye.
So our next regularly scheduled council meeting is moved from November 11th, which is Veterans Day holiday. Thank you for your service. The city of Ironton does it better than any community in the United States of America, recognizing our veterans. I fully believe that. Drive down our streets on Memorial Day and see if you can find a single city block that doesn't have an American flag. And then our next meeting is November 22nd. Other miscellaneous?
Okay.
Bob?
Yeah, we've already voted and that's been done, but I got a question. Back years ago, and that's what happens when you get old, you've been here forever. When Sherman Thompson Towers, when they, change hands or build it or whatever, there's a big question coming before council, and you may,
I remember that.
know where I'm going, is that our water bill is rated per tenant and not per meter. And so the council at that time talked about charging, if there's, 40 residents here, there's 40 water bills, they're gonna pay the fire fee, the utilities, everything that's on our bill, all the residents had to pay. And to me, it seemed like that would just kind of brought up a lot of concern about it. But then it just kind of disappeared and stayed the same way. That they get one water bill for one big meter for, how many apartments they got. Is that what you remember?
Yeah.
John, is that kind of the way you recall it too?
Yes.
So, and coming back to you, Mac, was there a reason except good hardness why we left it on one meter? Was there some kind of specific, something in the law that says you can't charge each individual resident? I mean, it's in our ordinances that we charge every resident of Ironton that's got a water meter what you got on a water bill. But when you got a building that has residents and you've got multiple residents, but you got a big meter feeding it, that, we just kind of left it the way it is. Or if, I wish Bill and the other fellow wouldn't have left. And when I was going into that, in the new hotel, 109 rooms, is that something we could look at, the 109 water bills that's gonna pay the, fire fee, the sewage, all?
I think we did have a separate opinion about that specifically about when, go ahead, Mac. You look like you're wanting to chime in.
You can't equate Sherman Thompson Towers with your permanent residents that live there. I think they can be treated that way. It's each as a resident, it's not that it's, because they're not residents, and they're just people coming and going. You can't.
I recall their opinion.
The room.
I recall their opinion saying something about transient.
Yeah.
The word transient in it was the distinction.
But now why Sherman Thompson was set up that way, I don't recall, to be honest with you, but I don't know, John. But do they pay anything more than just the normal garbage fee and?
I believe that the way
one resident would pay.
I believe that the way that is once the bill comes up, as I understood it, and granted, this isn't my area expertise, but I think what it is when the bill comes in, it's divided between the occupied housing units.
Are you talking about the hotel?
This is Sherman Thompson
yeah.
Tower.
Yeah, and the same as like Baker and any of the.
Yes. So, and I think the
Like they'll
other
have like
thing.
14 fire fees or 14 municipal fees.
So they pay a fire fee for each unit?
Yeah.
How many units is in Sherman Thompson?
I don't know, off the top of my head.
I don't know, but I will find out and let you know the next meeting.
And there's the other one there too on Fifth Street.
Yes, Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
Lenny.
What is it?
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
plus Baker apartment.
And I think another thing, Mr. Cleary, is that with that one water meter, that it was going to be, I had always interpreted that it was going to be difficult separating that into 100 different meters going out to each individual room and all that. That was always my understanding on that, but I will find that
I would
out.
assume based on the past, if you have a place like the trailer park, which had one master meter that served all their residents, but you've got 20 structures there. So it's 20 different places that kind of the same thing.
I think the trailer park put in.
They did now, but I'm saying when this was established originally based on residents past, individual residents past the master meter.
I think that the trailer park, which kind of veered off, I think it had individual meters so they could get individual sewer rates on.
They have individual meters now, but
Yeah.
it used to be served by one master meter.
Exactly, they were.
Nate?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make a motion to accept and make part of the minutes the September financials.
Second.
Well, thank you. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
feasibility study, the holistic feasibility study is ready. This is a high-level summary. Make sure you're sitting down whenever you read this. It's a lot of big numbers. I'm going to ask that we do a workshop with everyone here after we have our next US EPA call to approach them on integrated planning.
When is that?
We have 2 dates, one the 9th, one the 17th. So anytime after that, and I'd like to bring in our attorney and our engineers to kind of go through this with everyone.
Just a quick question, sorry to cut you off, but does it make the most sense to do that prior to December 1st, the new council sitting?
That's what I was curious, I was wondering if that might be what we want to do.
Me and Chris will talk about it.
Well, and I'll talk with them too, because like there's going to be a lot of work over the next year and a half developing that integrated plan that we've been talking about. That could be anywhere from 15 to 20 years that we're going to be doing all this work that we were supposed to have done in 5 years, which would have broke the bank. So there's going to be a lot of factors going into play. There's a lot of that you'll see with these drawings that potentially will be moving other city parks to acquire, to accommodate some of these plans. And so those will factor into it, whether, we're going to have a place to put our Little League, things like that, if we go certain routes. There's many options in here. If you have any questions on it in the meantime, I can answer them most likely, but to get technically into it, it's going to be us working that with the US EPA, OEPA on our end, and then us here working on what's going to be feasible for us cost-wise to move forward with that.
I think it probably is worthy to at least have an initial conversation sooner rather than later. And the good thing about workshops is that those Mr. Perry, I'm talking to you specifically, that those workshops are open to the public. So that way, Mr. Perry or anybody that's watching that is interested in the city government, they would be able to attend that, so they wouldn't necessarily be behind if we had a workshop that was open to the public. So
yeah, mostly need a workshop because we're going to need a lot of time, and I don't know that we're going to be having legislation to discuss. That's why I said workshop.
Okay.
But yeah,
you got a question real quick, Chris?
You're about to get it. I'm just going to wait until I'm done, and we're not doing. You look at this later when you go home.
Do we have a copy of that provided?
I've got it right here. I said I'm going to give it to you as soon as I'm done talking, and then I'm running.
Is that all you got?
Yeah, there's what I was going to say. There is one thing, the first page. This is a project that we've already submitted for funding, full funding on. This is the Batham Lane Storm Sewer Lift Station Orchard Street pump, which will do a significant amount of work for that end of town with flooding and things like that. We submitted that as part of the $250 million that was provided by the state on the House Bill 168 money that was allocated for water and sewer projects. That, and I'm pretty sure I reported it, but that ranked #1 in the county by the county engineers. We had the other project, which was our 3rd Street water line, came in 3rd out of the 5. So I'm hopeful this one won't be something that we have to budget for.
Okay. Mike?
I don't have a question for the mayor, but have a couple of miscellaneous items. The Lawrence Street dump was recently closed by the EPA, and it may be prudent to have a strategic planning meeting to check into that and discuss that, see what alternatives we might have for our citizens.
Put that on your radar?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second thing is for maybe the mayor to consider having an auction for the materials that are at the city building, so we can maybe alleviate some of the vehicles and old materials that are there and clean up that area.
That's yeah, we'll plan to do that.
We have a good auctioneer here, Mike.
Yeah.
And I still have not seen.
Oh, you got to see
him in action. I
You gotta
still
see
have
him.
not done that.
I gleaned from from John that Mike Pemberton is ready to have that happen, so.
You got one to take off.
One other thing I want to point out in here, and this is something that I think is very important for you to know, because
Missing one for me.
I gave 8. Did you give one to Mac? Mac doesn't get one. I'm just kidding. But no, not really. I didn't rank you one, Mac. You know, this integrated planning option we have, it's huge for us. Like we've said, it allows us to take that burden of that $12 million we thought we were going to have to spend in 3 years on phase 4 and phase 5. And now we can make something more feasible, whether it's 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years. But if you turn to, there is a page on here that says phase 5, original cost. You know, we thought we were going to save $9 million on this project by doing something else. The actual cost, after you called for the 3 times amount of pipe, but they did not reflect that cost in here. So what we thought was $9 million was going to be $32 million. And this would have been the least effective way to complete that project.
Where are you talking about? 'Cause our pages aren't numbered. So.
4th page. It's the 4th page.
4th
4th page.
Okay.
City of Ironton Phase 5. So this is what we were going to do. So like in the original plans that were provided by the previous engineers and everyone else, it called for a $9 million project, but the project, the master plans called for 3 times the amount of pipe and did not reflect that cost. So I just wanted you to know, like, phase 5 was gonna really kill us.
Chris.
Well, this is possibly the phase that is being phased out.
Phase 4 as well.
Okay, good deal. Thank you for that clarification.
Jacob.
I've got a question for the auctioneer, Mr. Eagle. So the sales tax, or the lodging tax that the county levies, the auditor takes an administrative fee off of, how will the city's lodging tax, like when it's implemented, how will that tax be collected? Is that through the finance department?
Right now, the Lawrence County Auditor mails us payments for
Okay.
that, so.
So it would continue to be through the auditor?
That it would be my assumption.
Okay, just curious.
Nate.
I think that's incorrect. I think that's something that we'll have to collect ourselves as a city and collect from the hotel, my understanding.
I don't know if this is.
Okay.
Anyway, I had a question for the mayor. The 4 homes that are supposed to be, that we got bids for, do we have follow-up as far as?
Yeah, so after the last meeting, I got with Susan. I think she said she mailed or emailed them to you or done
Yeah.
something. I was confused on, I asked her, I said, is these the ones, do we have to send these for title searches first or anything like that? But no, so I told her today to go ahead. They were average about $8 grand per demo. So we're going to go ahead and get them on the line.
All 4 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then start working towards the next ones too. But some of those are being put up in auctions or being sold, so it's kind of like.
She said some of them were actually making improvements on them to get them out
Yeah,
of the shape.
that as well, and one did demo of their own, so.
Okay. All right. My second question is, I knew we had money budgeted for our flood pump improvements. I think it's for Station 4, the big one. Do we have any, is it 4?
Yes, I have.
6?
6. I have an update on that effective today, Mayor. You probably have the same thing. That should be complete, and installed November 8th.
Okay.
And I have one thing for you, Mr. Klein. I have made some copies of some ledger sheets on stuff that you had requested, and I put them on your desk.
The zoning maps?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
You might want a copy of the updated zoning map?
Yes, I do.
I would like to have one.
Just pass them out.
Yeah, just go ahead and pass them around. Thanks for printing those off, John.
John, as Mac just pointed out, per the ordinance, the 3% is to be collected by the income tax department and divided into those separate funds.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mac. I didn't know.
Or not the finance department, I'm sorry, yeah.
And one of the reasons I asked that is the the auditor takes an administrative fee, so that wouldn't be the case if the finance department was taking it out.
Well, the finance department might take one.
Okay.
No, that's.
Hey, no, he's not kidding.
I'm good. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Beth, roll call, please.
Cleary. Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Thank you all. We're adjourned.